My younger brother, who my family considers the golden child, insisted on proposing at my wedding. When I refused, my grandmother supported him. She even threatened to spread rumors about me if I didn't agree. Feeling trapped due to my grandmother's narcissistic tendencies and her skill at manipulating sympathy, I came up with a bold move. I bluffed that I had recorded our conversation and would share it with the family. This shocked her, and she pleaded with me to reconsider, but I stood firm and ended the call. It's worth noting that my grandmother has always favored my brother, believing his lies and showering him with far more gifts than anyone else during holidays. The following day, I confronted my brother again and threatened to reveal his intentions to his girlfriend. He had crossed the line by planning to propose at my wedding without permission. He reacted badly, calling me awful, but I reminded him that my wedding wasn't about him. By this point, my parents had begun supporting me and backed me up during our conversation. I think my brother was shocked when they sided with me. Dad even acknowledged that he may have raised my brother poorly and that he needed to show real respect from now on. They decided to draft an official lease for him to pay proper rent and utilities since he was only giving them $300 a month without contributing to expenses. If he refused, he could move out, and they'd rent his room to someone else. My brother turned to Mom for help, but she agreed with Dad. He looked upset, left the house, and returned hours later without speaking to anyone, locking himself in his room. 2 days later, he announced he was moving in with Grandma, who had invited him. Our parents told him that if he preferred to live with her, he was free to do so. In response, my brother accused us all of hating him just because he wanted to propose to his girlfriend. Our parents clarified that the issue wasn't his desire to propose, but his choice of venue, for which he had no support. He's now refusing to speak to them. My grandmother tried calling me again, but I reiterated 3.5. I've made it clear that my brother won't be proposing at my wedding, period. He can accept it or choose not to attend, and the same goes for Grandma. I confronted her about her long-standing favoritism toward my brother, which she initially denied but couldn't maintain as I pointed out numerous instances. She ended up in tears, pleading not to lose her invitation, yet still couldn't understand why I wouldn't bend for him. After that call, my fiancé fully supported my decision and is prepared to exclude both my brother and Grandma from the wedding. Since then, Grandma hasn't reached out and isn't speaking to my parents either. I suspect my brother ran to her again seeking sympathy, prompting her to offer him a place to stay. However, nothing she does will change my mind. Our last conversation seemed to make her realize I won't give in. Regarding my brother's girlfriend, she called me on a Saturday after he drunkenly revealed his plan to propose at the wedding. I confirmed it, leading her to confront him, resulting in their breakup. He blamed me, showed up at my place to protest, and threatened to boycott the wedding. He wrongly thought he had leverage, but I reminded him he's an adult and needs to act like one. Our parents have stopped enabling him and are already preparing to rent out his room. This news left him stunned, and he left in silence. Update: both my brother and Grandma are officially uninvited from my wedding. Grandma called again to berate me further for refusing my brother's proposal. Apparently, he's devastated over his breakup, but he's already on Tinder looking for dates, as seen on his social media. I pointed this out to Grandma, who claimed it was his way of coping. I reiterated that he's no longer welcome at my wedding because I can't trust him not to cause drama. She repeated her classic line of not understanding why I won't prioritize my brother, citing past instances like when I loaned him money during his online college days. Despite promising to repay me once he found a job, he hesitated and only paid after much reluctance. I decided then not to lend him money again, a decision Grandma still can't comprehend. 3.5. When I explained that I knew my brother would never repay me, Grandma still insisted she didn't understand. That was the last straw. I yelled at her, accusing her of willfully ignoring the truth because she's always favored my brother, regardless of his actions. I told her she was no longer invited to my wedding, and I didn't care if she cried it was her bed to lie in for choosing his side. This confrontation ended with her tearfully calling me a bad grandson, to which I responded that she was a bad grandma for always believing my brother's lies and playing favorites. After that call, she went silent again. I preemptively informed my parents about the situation, and they were supportive, having already distanced themselves from my brother and Grandma. They're preparing to rent out rooms in their house to help with debts, and they thanked me for the financial support I've been providing. They recently apologized for favoring my brother over the years, admitting their mistakes and promising to do better. My fiancée is relieved I stood my ground, especially after she revealed Grandma had been spreading lies about me to her behind my back. These falsehoods were attempts to undermine my relationship. Knowing this only strengthened my resolve to cut my brother and Grandma out of my life. Update 2. A few days ago, my brother showed up drunk at my door, vomited on the porch, and unexpectedly collapsed into tears. Despite his erratic behavior, I refused to sympathize, telling him he brought his problems upon himself and needed to grow up. He blamed me for his issues between swigs of vodka, then passed out on the grass. I took away his bottle and called a taxi to take him home, opting not to drive him to Grandma's. The next day, I learned he had vomited all over the taxi, costing me $200 for cleanup. I promptly reimbursed the taxi service. Update 3. Despite being uninvited and nearly ghosted, Grandma created a scene by taking my brother to my parents' house, where she criticized me heavily. Surprisingly, my usually passive mom snapped, calling Grandma a narcissist and blaming her for influencing them poorly. They dismissed Grandma and my brother, labeling his proposal idea as selfish and stupid. Grandma later called to rant at me, but I let her rant to silence, with my fiancé and I listening in silence. After I confronted Grandma on the phone about her lies to my fiancé and her favoritism towards my brother, she denied everything until my fiancé confirmed it all. She then admitted wanting my brother to propose at my wedding because he's her favorite and she resented me getting married first. I called out her manipulative behavior and pointed out how wrong it was to use my wedding as a tool to salvage my brother's relationship. I asked her if she'd say the same if our roles were reversed, which led to a heated exchange where I expressed my frustrations with her bias and manipulation tactics. The call ended with Grandma sobbing loudly while my brother tried to console her. Update 4. Grandma's behavior escalated after our argument. She lashed out at my brother, which shocked me considering her usual enabling nature. Police had to intervene when she attacked a neighbor, resulting in her being placed on a psychiatric hold. During her stay, she played the victim, blaming me for everything and insisting she had a right to attend my wedding. Meanwhile, my brother found himself stuck with her until he moved out with police assistance due to her refusal to let movers in. Despite her erratic behavior, she continued to manipulate, even attempting a dramatic but failed suicide attempt by overdosing on medication. My wedding finally happened without Grandma's presence, held at a beautiful outdoor venue with a serene atmosphere. Security was in place, but thankfully unnecessary as Grandma was preoccupied with my brother's issues. Post-wedding, my brother sent me a letter expressing mixed emotions, apologies for his behavior yet blaming me for various troubles in his life. He acknowledged his wrongs and vowed to improve, starting with moving out of Grandma's house and seeking therapy. We reconciled somewhat, and he's shown effort in turning his life around. Update 5. Grandma's mental health deteriorated further. She escalated conflicts with my brother and eventually ended up hospitalized after a suicide attempt. Doctors discovered severe health issues due to years of neglect, and she was moved to a care facility. Despite initial resistance, she adapted to life there reluctantly, but with ongoing bitterness towards us. Our visits were strained, marked by her bitterness and occasional moments of unexpected warmth, particularly upon hearing about my wife's pregnancy. Eventually, Grandma passed away, leading to a somber funeral and an awkward family gathering where tensions lingered, exacerbated by unresolved feelings towards her. My brother continues to make progress, distancing himself from Grandma's influence, seeking therapy, and helping our father with household projects. Our relationship remains strained but hopeful for improvement now that Grandma's toxic influence is no longer a factor. If there's anything else you'd like to add or modify, feel free to let me know.